I'm going to read a couple sentences out of a couple lessons in the Course in Miracles that will lead into my talk this morning. The first one is lesson 24. I do not perceive my own best interest. In no situation that arises, do you realize the outcome that would make you happy? Therefore, you have no guide to appropriate action and no way of judging the result. If you realize that you do not perceive your own best interest, you could be taught what they are. That's all I'm going to read out of that one. And then lesson 25, which follows, I do not know what anything is for. Purpose is meaning. And I want you to really take that 2 words or 3 words in. Purpose. Purpose is meaning. Today's idea explains why nothing you see means anything. You do not know what it is for. Therefore, it is meaningless to you. Everything is for your own best interest. And then it goes on where you practice coming up with whatever you think it is that you want or need or have to do. And then go on to say, I do not perceive what is in my own best interest. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And maybe I'm going to start off with sharing something with you, and I don't think my friend will mind. But I was sent a picture, and it was of their grandson. And I remember looking into the eyes of this little boy. Oh my God, he's so beautiful. And you could see the innocence in his eyes and the wonder. Now, as this little boy grows up, the parents are going to be concerned about things. The grandparents are going to be concerned about things. But these grandparents are on their spiritual path, and they're evolving spiritually and becoming wiser and wiser all the time. And that is what they're going to share with this child. They're going to share that. I don't know the parents, so I don't know where they are, but they're going to do their very best. They're actually going to do what they came here to do. And so are the grandparents. So you see, it's not only that we don't perceive what's in our best interest, but we don't perceive what's in others' best interest. If we can't know what our best interest is, we cannot know what anyone else's best interest is. And remember that 3 words, purpose is meaning. The purpose we're here, the purpose, why we're here. And that purpose is the only thing that has meaning. So we don't know what that child came here to accomplish, to learn, which really means remember. He's going to go through many, many experiences in order to remember, to learn about himself and remember who he really is. So what can we do when we're concerned about somebody else? What can we do about that? First of all, when we feel we have to try to direct someone else's life or think that we know what's in their best interest, this is a hard one to swallow, but it's coming from fear. Because we want to control the outcome. We want to make sure they're safe and they're happy and only good things come into their life. But that's not up to us because we don't know the purpose of why they're here, what it is that they need to experience and learn. And we certainly don't know that about ourselves. So it would be the same fear when we want to control something, we want to know the outcome, We want to control the outcome. This is all coming from the ego. It's not coming from love, that guidance from love. We have to remember that purpose has meaning. The purpose, why we are here, why we came here. That is the only thing that has any meaning. Now, we will go about our daily lives. We're going to, you want to buy a new house or a new car. These things, did we ever stop to think, does it fit into the purpose of why I'm here? Does it fit into the purpose? Does it serve my best interest? And if it serves your best interest, we're talking about the purpose why you're here. Your best interest is why you're here and what you're going to accomplish while you're here. So now I'm going to tell you a story, and this might help bring things home. Years ago, I was speaking to Jesus. I've been with the Course in Miracles for 40 years. And I was speaking to Jesus one morning. And honestly, I don't remember the conversation, but I know it had to do with judgment. And it had something to do in the Course in Miracles about preference. And I was saying to Jesus something like, well, how can I possibly have a preference without a judgment? I mean, I'd have to judge that I want this instead of that. I'm just giving you an example here. There's several. I would rather this instead of that. But how do I know that unless it's through judgment? So it was very hard for me. It's like hard for me to wrap my mind around what it was trying to teach me at that time. And this is what Jesus said. Preference is not a preference until all judgment is laid aside. I could not wrap my mind around that. How can I have a preference without a judgment? So I wrote those words down and I taped them up into my pantry. So every day when I opened that pantry door, I read that. Do you know how long it took before it dawned on me? 7 years. Now, please laugh with me because it is funny. 7 years. We're so caught up in time, that we have to have time for this. We have to have time for that. We're going to run out of time. 7 years. And Stan and I are in Sedona. And I'm sitting on top of this mountain, looking down on another mountain. And there's homes behind me. And my feet are just dangling over and I'm taking in the view. And I'm loving every moment. And this is what I said to Spirit. I would like to have a home here someday. Not permanent, but a second home. I'd like to have that someday. And the next thing I said was this, but I don't want anything that it's not in my highest good. Same thing as saying that's not in my best interest. Just different words. I don't want anything. And I was congruent. Do you know what congruent means? It means when everything inside of you, your thoughts, your feelings are congruent with what you just affirmed. Nothing was fighting that. In that moment, there was no ego fighting that. Oh, no, but this is what you want. Oh, but you have to have this, or blah, 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 blah. I was congruent. I don't want anything that's not in my highest good. And I got up and I started walking away. And this is what I heard Spirit say. Now you know what a preference is. And what I learned that day was that Preference is not a preference until all judgment is laid aside, means that we're not attached to the outcome. You may have a preference to something, but you're not attached to whether it happens or doesn't, because you only want what's in your best interest or in your highest good. Only that which serves the purpose and has meaning for your being here. Does any of this make sense? 7 years. I can laugh about it now, but it took 7 years. I couldn't wrap my mind around it before that. But timing, everything in the universe is perfect. It's in order and it's timely. I was ready to know what that meant. I was ready because I had no attachment to the outcome. It didn't matter whether it happened, it came into fruition or not. And since that day, I live my life that way. And let me tell you, it doesn't mean that it's easy for me, because it's not. That ego consciousness gets in there. I mean, just yesterday, Stan and I looked at a home and we love this about it and that about it. And then, but can we live with this? And can we this and that? And before you know it, it's like our minds are, and it's like, stop. I only want what's in our highest good. So I can stop right there and allow that internal guidance dictate what we do next. Because I don't know what's in our highest good. Should we live there? Should we stay here? I don't know. But that God force within us does know. You know, it'll sound like I'm jumping around here today, and I am. But I think it'll bring it all home. You know, when Moses stood in front of the burning bush, he asked for it to identify itself. And what did the burning bush say? I am. What does that mean? I am. Simply means God is. God is. Source is. Love is. It just is. And it's also everything. It's everything. So if love, God, source, what creator, whatever your words are, created us like itself, what does that mean? Are we God in action? Is that source within us acting through us? I think so. Do we know what's in our highest good? No. But does it? Yes. And are we trusting that? Are we trusting God in action within us? Are we trusting it to lead us to every experience we need to have for the purpose that we're here? And that is the only thing that has meaning. So when it comes to our own best interest, we don't know what it is, but that source within us does, and will lead us to everything we need to experience. And we have to trust that about others. So here's another story. I text my son. I love my son. I text him, and it said, I love you, I love you, I love you. And I'm sending a big hug filled with all that love. That was my message to him. I didn't hear from him for a while. He's a busy man. And then eventually, I don't know how long later, it was in the evening, I get a text back from him, and it said, I'm having difficult breathing. Before I could read any more of that text, I felt this panic in my heart. What is that? It's fear. Because I want the best for my son. And then I go on to read the rest of the text, and it said, because my son has a very fabulous sense of humor. I'm having difficulty breathing. Oh, but then it was you. I love you too. So the joke was, obviously, the hug was too tight. I mean, I get his humor, but what's the first thing that happened? Because I want the very best for my son. So you see, I'm working with this all the time. I had to stop and go, if he was having trouble with his heart, as much as I love him, there's something about this for him. And I don't know what it is. And I don't know what is in his best interest. So see, this picture of this little boy that was sent to me, I just fell in love with that little guy. I mean, he is so beautiful. And looking into his eyes and seeing that innocence and that wonder. Yeah, he doesn't remember why he's here, but he's going to discover it. That's the faith we're going to have in him. That's the faith we're going to have in each other. That we are here like God in action. God working through us, bringing us to every experience we need to have. Because that will be in our best interest. Let's not forget we came here with a purpose. Let's not forget that that's the only thing that has any meaning. And then we can go about our daily life, and it doesn't mean we're not going to want or do, because we are. But let's keep in mind, keep in check. Are we coming from the ego? Or are we asking, is this in my highest good? Is this in my best interest? I love you all, and I'm going to leave that with you today with love and light. Thank you for listening. Amen.